Get up, work, come home, watch TV, sleep, rinse, repeat. There has to be more to life than that, right? There are some obvious problems with corporate America. Cubicles, cold interpersonal exchanges, a focus on profit above ethics, long work hours and very little vacation time, a lack of appreciation and acknowledgement in the workplace, and suppression of the human spirit due to an oppressive corporate culture focused on hierarchy, hive mind, and compartmentalization. That's a mouthful. Let's not forget excessive paperwork, sterile political correctness, a lack of fun, and too often a stifling left-brain focus, devoid of creative imagination, the greatest strength of humanity. For millions of people, work can be dehumanizing. Fortunately, things are changing, and they're changing fast. Here's the beautiful new reality. Companies are finding that across the board, treating people with respect and overhauling their corporate culture to include a sense of fun, camaraderie, and a splash of creativity has a measurable mathematical result. When companies treat their employees with respect and value them as individuals, profits and productivity improve in equal parts. In other words, humanity plus empathy equals profit. It's not only the right thing to do, it's improving the bottom line. It's a win-win situation. In fact, this is happening so drastically and so frequently now, I think it's appropriate to call it an actual movement. Companies are finally taking notice, as statistics are proving again and again that this kind of kindness revolution increases growth, community outreach, organic grassroots inroads in the local communities, even profit. And the overall value and long-term success of a company is only elongated and improved. And it doesn't require a pill. This is the only truly sustainable business model because it ensures authenticity. The old system of false scarcity and competition will give way to the complete transformation of our business culture. It's just a matter of time. Fairness is a trait that is universally recognized. No one begrudges you a profit, but it has to be a fair exchange. Think of the culture as the water, and when you improve the water, you improve the fish. The key is to create a culture of satisfied employees in your company who feel appreciated, have fun at work, and who actually feel part of the team as opposed to a cog in the machine. There is an awakening happening in the business world. It is the great turning of the tide. This is the last formula. I applaud and welcome this renewal from stale mediocrity to self-actualized creativity and maximized human potential. This is a natural evolution from the days of the Industrial Revolution and its mechanistic black and white factory line sensibilities, morphing into a full technicolor system where mutualism and creativity rule. It's high time for corporate culture to rehumanize. You can resist and be in a state of contraction, or get out in front of this social revolution and expand. It's not only the right thing to do, but also it makes employees feel aligned with their sense of morality, their sense of purpose. They can actually get behind the product and the business or the service, not just in mandatory meetings in windowless rooms, but at home and in their spare time, without being embarrassed to tell another human being what they do for a living or where they work. People want to make a difference and have a purpose they believe in. They are not expendable human resources that punch in simply to make a paycheck. Lumbering along, doing what they loathe to do. No one likes to be told what to do, when to do it, and how to think. There's a sense of balance that is really important, and that has been lost. Yes, it is actually possible to have fun at work and be productive. In fact, more productive. Why not treat people as human beings and keep their loyalty and have them express great things about your company and your brand and also make more of a profit? And truthfully, there will be intrinsic motivation from employees when they feel appreciated and fully part of the same goals. True motivation is light years away from pretend motivation for a paycheck. Everyone knows the difference, and you can see it from a mile away. No more forced, awkward groupthink. It is possible for self-actualized individuals to work together toward a common goal, still keeping their unique identity and a sense of self. In fact, oftentimes that is what you're selling and exemplifying as your very brand, which immediately sets your company apart from the rest. so humanity can become your export, kindness your identity, fairness your brand. It's more intrinsic and organic these days. Commercials are actually on the way out, in my opinion. Many documentaries and YouTube promotional videos, social media, that's in. A sense of humor and a lightness of being can be a big part of this new evolved business model. You can exemplify what people increasingly want their world to look like and allow it to become one with your image. It's no longer a mask the company is wearing, but it's the company's very DNA. It's no longer an inauthentic magic trick to separate people from their money, but a genuine contribution to society, complete with good customer service, quality products, and happy employees giving people the inside scoop. That kind of word of mouth can really spread, and it's really effective. One simple act of kindness can go viral and literally create a marketplace overnight. Crowdfunding, the clever use of social media, and good old-fashioned hard work are rewarded in real time. There's an immediacy to it. Meanwhile, curmudgeons with their MBAs sit and brood over the way things used to be while hiring lawyers and copywriters to create a theoretical direction, but doing is the new planning. See what works by default. Set your idea into action and watch the universe bend to your will. Being fleet of foot and quick to adapt is more valuable than lumbering brute strength. No more faking it for profit. If you want a company that will be profitable and ethical, simply make sure your mission statement is aligned with a purpose that is mutually beneficial to everyone involved. Mutualism is true success. The days of we win, everyone else loses are over. This is the era of win-win. Everyone benefits from a little kindness. In fact, feel-good chemicals are released in both the giver and the receiver of a simple act of kindness. Science has documented the physiological release of chemical endorphins that improve mood and lift morale when kindness is given. Not only that, but it's been shown in study after study that even a random observer of this act of kindness is also chemically altered. So, just the mere observation of the act can lift the mood of an entire environment. And of course, this can lead to better employee morale, which can then lead to creating a new culture. So, it's a very powerful thing. Imagine if this was an everyday occurrence, or better yet, what if it simply became the new culture of your business and ultimately the new normal? Students have an innate ability to intuitively tell if a teacher is BSing them or not. They can tell if the teacher is into their subject, they can tell if they care about the kids, they can just tell. And likewise, customers can intuitively sense whether a company is truly benefiting society or parasitically draining it. That kind of intuition by the average person, that kind of ethical questioning is extremely important, I would suggest more than ever before.
Nice shoes.
Zappos.com. We also sell clothes.
The most successful new companies are not going to be the ones that resist and hold on to the old paradigm, but embrace and get out in front of this new shift of consciousness. This is a new era. Let's create the new ideas, the new systems that work. My friends and I set out to find successful, like-minded business people that are at the cutting edge of this corporate awakening. We searched all over the country and talked to the leading experts and innovators that embrace this new and improved set of ideals. And that's really what this movie's about. So let's check it out.
I think having a spirituality department or a center or a director of wellness or, I'm actually called the Chief Inspiration Officer for a company that I consult with, Next Gen Ventures. And my job is to make sure in that company that everyone meditates and that everyone feels good about themselves. And when emotional stuff comes up, that they either get it handled with me or with somebody so that those energies don't collide with the intentions of the organization and the individuals. We've had a number of people over the years in my companies be the director of wellness and make sure that people are exercising, that they're eating well, that they're meditating. And so I'm a big believer in having someone responsible for something. If someone's not responsible for something, it usually doesn't happen. And saying that, we believe in spirituality, but there's no one there, or we believe in ecological sustainability, but we don't have a director of the green initiative in our company, that makes you wonder, like, okay, how committed are you really? So I'm a big believer in focusing on that and seeing the results of that occur when people actually put energy on it.
I think there have been some large corporations who have very effectively exhibited in the last couple of decades what happens when you make your employees happy and make them like to work with you. And not so coincidentally, they're very successful. And I do think that, whereas in the past we kind of had our village, or we had our tribe, or we had, whatever. We had these little collections of people who were associated in one way or another. I think in the modern world, that tends to be more the workplace. And I think that a tribe or a workplace or a village can take on a sort of an ethos. I mean, I think that it can develop a personality of its own. And also because of the fact that I'm a big believer in kindness being contagious. And this is not, at one time this was sort of an idea I had by observation, but they're actually doing scientific studies on it now. Kindness is contagious. So I think it's a wonderful thing to set loose in a workplace. I think a workplace, a big company, is just the perfect place for Pay It Forward. Because a lot of people don't necessarily want to do something for a total stranger because they may be a little afraid of a total stranger, which in some aspects is appropriate. Certainly not going to tell kids that they should go out and do something with total strangers, But I think within the workplace you have people who you know well enough, but they're kind of like your neighbors in a not very connected neighborhood. You know them, but do you know them? And I think in the workplace we have these kind of unwritten rules, like I will do this much for you, but I will not do this much for you, because that's just how we do things here. And I think when somebody blows through those imaginary lines and just does more for the people who work with them, all of a sudden that's the new normal in that place. So yes, I think that organizations are very ripe for change and are probably very good places for change to grow, because you have people together almost reimagining a little society, and that really can change.
One of the new values that women bring into the workplace is the importance of the happiness of the employee. You see, in the old-fashioned workplace, it was always you do whatever it takes to serve the customer. The customer is always right. You sacrifice to produce the result and you get paid. You get paid, you come home, and with that money, you create happiness. Because men would go to work, they'd suffer, but they would push their suffering to the side because they got paid. They didn't even feel the suffering because they know I'm going to get paid, I'm going to bring this home, I can create a family, and my wife's going to make me happy. So men could delay their happiness. Now, as women come in the workplace, they're saying, wait a second, these are not good conditions. We don't have to delay. We can be happy in the process. And that's the wisdom that femininity brings to the workplace. Whereas we can get the job done and we can be happy doing it. We can have personally fulfilling relationships with the people in the workplace. We can have conditions that are life-supporting, that are nurturing to our soul, that are nurturing to our spirit. So we bring that into the workplace, and then the workplace is more effective. And this has been true. This is proven. There's many big companies today that are taking off, and they have greater gender intelligence. There's more fun for the employees. There's more cooperation for the employees. There's more teamwork for the employees. There's more flexibility of schedule. Zappos, for example, is a company which is an example of that. Just took the world by storm. You know, my daughters all just order Zappos. You know, they're like right there, friendly. There's a happy group of people working together, and they make sure that the team is happy. Then they are going to be more productive. And this is because we have a higher consciousness today. Before, we couldn't do that. We didn't have the ability to integrate these feminine, masculine values together. But today we have that ability. The potential is there. The innate ability is there, but we have to develop the skills, and it is a skill. So definitely personal fulfillment in the workplace becomes a prerequisite for greater effectiveness and greater competence in the workplace.
I mean, I'm a little biased because authenticity is such a key element of my work and my life. I think authenticity is incredibly important. And, you know, there's an interesting sort of way we got to look at it. I always think of it on a continuum, right? On this side of the continuum is phony, inauthentic. You know, we all know what that looks like and feels like. It's right. I mean, we do it on a daily basis. People say, "Hey, how you doing?" We say, "Fine." That's not usually true, right? So there's inauthentic conversations, communications, interactions happening all the time. Now we move along the continuum to the midway point. This is honest. That's sort of, right? Honesty is the best policy. That's good. That's better than inauthentic, right? But honesty can be tricky because everyone's had the experience where they've been honest and it's caused a problem. It upset someone, it offended someone, it made a situation worse, or we said we didn't know something and all of a sudden it made us look bad and we're, okay, I'm not supposed to be that honest. So then we sort of hedge back, not all the way to phony, but to mostly honest, but sort of politically correct honest in a way that makes me look good. And you know, and nothing inherently wrong with that. We're not evil creatures for doing that. That's just how we operate. But what I often say to people is there's not a lot of freedom between phony and honest because we're constantly trying to feel situations out and people. And so where there's real freedom is on the other side of honest. And over here is where authenticity lies. And to get to there, what we have to do is remove something from our honesty, which is self-righteousness. Not easy to do, right? Because most of us, like me, have lots of opinions, and we think, of course, our opinions are right, which they're not. They're just our opinions, right? So we got to remove our self-righteousness, and then we got to add vulnerability. So if we do those two things, now we can get to a place of authenticity. And this place, there's a lot of freedom. There's the possibility to connect with people. Creativity, innovation lies over here. Now, it's tricky, though. It takes courage, it takes self-awareness. And look, it doesn't mean that if you live that way authentically all the time, everyone's going to like you and agree with you and you're never going to have a conflict. No, sometimes things can get dicey over here as well, but over here at least we're operating in a place of truth. And we know where we're coming from, where other people are coming from. So organizations or teams within organizations who can create that kind of environment or that culture are more likely going to be successful.
I was very fortunate when I realized with the shut up, stop whining thing that people really did respond well to that kind of authentic message that was so contradictory to everyone else's message. And when I wrote the book, Shut Up, Stop Whining and Get a Life, that book went to #1 on the bestseller list the first week it was out, simply because I think people looked as they were walking through the self-help section of the bookstores and go, you know, here's the 7 habits of this, and here's 6 ways to live a happy life, and all that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden, there's a guy with cowboy boots on and way too much jewelry, and he's pointing his finger in your face saying, shut up, stop whining, get a life. And they go, whoa, that's different. So from a branding standpoint, a marketing standpoint, I had a message that was clearly contrarian to what most people were doing. When I realized that resonated with people, and on top of all that, it's who I really am. I mean, this is who I really am. I don't have to put on the Larry Winget outfit and so forth when I go on stage and say, okay, who do I need to be today and what do I need to say? I'm this way all the time. When people are truly authentic and they tie that into their message, and that's what people are really looking for, is that honesty, they will respond well, and your business will be successful. I don't care if you're dry cleaners or whether you're a professional speaker, an author, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Authenticity, real guys delivering a real message based on what they really believe, that's what people really want.
Research shows that we catch the emotions of the people around us like we catch their colds. It's called emotional contagion. And it's said that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So think about your workplace. And you spend a lot of time with the people around your workplace. Do you want to catch their emotions? So when we're working in a company where people are happier, then it's a lot easier to feel good yourself, and it's a lot easier to get along with each other.
Certainly there are basic tenets of my spiritual program that have helped me to be a better person and to care more about other people and to take other people's feelings into consideration. I can still be a selfish son of a bitch, but I think we all have that tendency. But I also know how to get out of that and to turn the focus back around to the other person and to care about the other person. The more people that can get to that place, the better chance we have at doing a better job on this planet in general. It's very hard, though, for me to think about 6 or 7 billion people and trying to influence 6 or 7 billion people to develop a certain sense of spirituality and to acquire those certain principles. But I can help people one person at a time.
I don't know of any job that, or any person in any job that is 100% enthusiastic about doing their job 100% of the time. I think there are aspects to every industry, to every line of profession, and we all have those days where you come in and say, oh, I don't want to do this today, but I need to. That's why we call it work and not party. So, but certainly the good days had better far outweigh the bad. And when I'm following my passions, when my head and my heart are in alignment, what the Hindus call metanoia, I feel so much better. I feel so good. You know, when my health is better, my relationships are better. So if I'm going to work and I'm doing what I love to do most days, that will be evident to everyone around me. Now the trick is that sometimes doing what I love won't pay enough to buy me what I want. So that then becomes the question. And we get back to that finding your inner guide, finding that deep down intent of what you really need in your life. And when most people do that, they find that it's not money. They thought it was money because that's the message that society is telling us. Turn on the TV, the internet, but it's not that. There's something else that's driving you. There's something else that makes your heart sing. And when you find and do that, it shows.
For whatever is worth, I want you to know. I hope you love again, just like we did. I know I messed it up. Crazier things have happened though.
Right now, the most powerful organizations in the world are not governments. They're multinational corporations. And we have to infiltrate these corporations. We have to change these corporations. We have to wake these corporations up to their responsibility and their opportunity to be the leaders in creating a better world. It's not just about profits anymore. It's about being world leaders. And there's no better vehicle to do that than the multinational corporations. And there's a big job ahead of all of us who are interested in business in finding ways that we can be the catalysts within those corporations for positive change. I say for young people listening to this right now, it's one of the most important things you can do. Don't throw your hands up and say, oh, those multinationals, they're the evil ones, they're destroying the planet. Many of them are. And that's more the reason. Find something essential that that corporation needs that only you can do. Make yourself essential. And once you're in a position of power within that corporation, change that corporation.
And it's not just big, already existing multinational corporations that require change. In fact, I would suggest the best possible way to change the culture and ethical norms within the business culture is to do what you love and create a small business around that passion. Ultimately, I think it's the entrepreneurial spirit that will be the epicenter of this shift of consciousness. I'm not suggesting that it's feasible to quit your current job right now and just make a business out of thin air, but I do believe that anyone can do it with a good idea and a website in their spare time at the very least. Worst case scenario is you get a little extra income on the side while gaining a new creative outlet and also changing the world in your own small way. Not only that, but you feel a certain momentum and a wind at your back once you connect to that intuitive knowing that's persistently nagging at you and telling you to pursue that idea you had. And the best case scenario is that you become your own boss. You create your own culture that not only benefits you, but others as well, and those who work for you. And you will become successful enough to make a living doing what you love and let your new creation take over your day job completely. I would even say the worst case scenario, though, is beautiful. So what do you have to lose? The change comes one person at a time, one business at a time. Waiting for a movement to emerge leads to inaction. Why shouldn't it be you? Start now. Like all the gurus and sages, shaman, wise men, and philosophers throughout time have always said, the change comes from within. It starts with the individual. It's just a matter of taking action instead of merely pondering an idea. Airbnb is another company like Zappos, leading the way in the realm of rehumanizing corporate culture by placing the value on fun, cooperation, and a sense of humor. They have created a culture that nurtures relationships, creativity, and individuality. And here again, their business plan is solid and profits are growing. People want to deal with companies that value other people. And as I said before, the general public can sense this from a mile away, intuitively. Here are just a few unique benefits for Airbnb employees. You can bring your pet to work, like every day to work if you want. You get a $2,000 travel stipend per year to go wherever you want on vacation. They sail together. They play ping pong tournaments in the office. They also provide yoga classes and organic lunches daily. They also have an inverted tradition called Formal Fridays as opposed to Casual Fridays. Here's a good quote. Companies that hire employees that are deeply passionate create companies that customers are really passionate about. And those are the companies that have strong brands. Brian Chesky, CEO of Airbnb. So check out this video where they did a Mad Men themed Friday and you can just feel the culture a little bit. It looks like an episode of Portlandia, but I suddenly feel the urge to play ping pong and drink beer at work, so touche Airbnb, touche.
At Airbnb, we're doing many great things, connecting travelers.
Where?
Around the world.
What's this?
It's a host. She started her business because of Airbnb. That, my friend, is how we're changing the world.
We are building a global marketplace, everyone. And no one said it was easy.
So how many engineers did you say you had?
Only 25.
Only 25? That's like jump roping with the Great Wall of China.
Who designed this room? Danielle, a host, designed this room. She knows we did it. She's good.
Le temps est splendide à San Francisco.
I've been to France once. It was nice.
There's over 5 million nice.
There's no two ways about it.
There's a rock in every shoe.
There's a ticket in every doorstep. What's my line?
This doesn't make any sense. Are these bubblegum cigarettes? Yes, they are.
I'll see you in the mushroom dome.
I wonder what it's like working at Airbnb.
It's awesome.
there's always going to be naysayers no matter what you attempt to do. That's why a lot of people who are successful never told anybody else about what they're going to do. They just went out and did it. So you have to understand that when people speak to you, they're speaking from their own conditioned minds. They can't speak in any other terms. So when they're opening their mouths, what's in their mind and their brain is just coming out. Now, what's in their brain? Their brain is what was taught to them. So they're only coming from what was taught to them and what they know, but they don't know what you know. And so they can have an opinion, but their opinion is just valid for them. So when they're saying it can't be done, this isn't going to work, they're saying, I can't do it, it won't work for me. But that has nothing to do with you. If your mind and your heart is saying, I can do this and I want to do this, then two things. First of all, do it. Number two, what are you going to lose? I'll tell you what you'll lose. If you don't do it, you will resent that and regret that for the rest of your life. What I teach is very simple. Get in the game. Start. Get up to bat. You will learn so much more about the game by being in the game than thinking about, considering about, looking about, and talking about the game that you could talk in 100 years. You get up to bat one time, you'll learn more in 3 seconds than thinking about it for 100 years. Get in the game, make corrections along the way, don't give up, and you'll succeed.
How do we deal with other people that are very difficult? And sometimes there's money involved too. My own individual idea, which I have grown to, I was a pushover. I was always trying to do everything to help other people. I think it destroys your body and your mind and your consciousness in your life. I think you have to take a point, and if you see in the beginning an indication that someone's going to be very difficult, more often than not, from my experience, with kindness, let them go. With grace, let them go. Let them fall out of your experience, because if they cause you a problem now and you think it's going to get better, it escalates almost every time. That's my experience of it. So with kindness, there's a poem by John Donne where he says, keep what is worth keeping, and with a breath of kindness blow the rest away. You have to stand up, and if people keep draining you and you let it happen, you're doing it to yourself.
I can't say shit, can I? Can I say shit?
Have we even finished?
We haven't across that question yet. Okay.
You know what?
Stuff happens. We can't control it. Things will just happen in our life. Something will come from left field and just take us out of the blue. And the thing is, we can't control those things from happening, but what we can control is the way that we choose to look at that situation, the story we make up about it, and how long we choose to let it affect us moving forward. Now, I got this lesson very hard about 6 months ago. My husband and I separated after being together for 18 years. And we're business partners and the whole thing. And I have a couple of choices here. I can either go, oh my God, curl up in the fetal position, cry my eyes out and go, my husband's left me, poor me, I hate him. But that's not serving him and it's not serving me. And that's only one small portion of that story. You know, most people say there's 3 sides to every story. I think there could be 20 sides to a story, because there's whatever story you choose that's going to be your truth moving forward. So instead of, and believe me, I had moments where I was curled up on the floor crying, of course, but I chose to look at this situation as the gift that it is. And it was the catalyst for me to do a lot of inner work, really find out more about myself, what I contributed to the situation, and how I could do things better moving forward. So really, I've become a better person because of this situation, and I've also become a better transformational leader because of it. Because now I can relate to so many more people, and I have so much more empathy because I know exactly what they're going through as well. So in the end, it's been an amazing gift. And the thing is, our relationship is 10 times better than it was before because we don't have all this, other stuff around us. But now we can really talk openly. We have a great communication. We're still business partners and we'll be friends until the end of time. But that's because we both chose to look at the situation as a positive, even though it is a negative situation.
High violet, key to the rainbow.
My belief on uplifting employees and making a better work environment it's right up there with oxygen. It's an absolute necessity. I think the role of any chief executive officer, any manager, is to help each individual in their organization become more than they even think they are capable of becoming. And the more you help an employee, a coworker, rise and feel the confidence and the certainty and the love, the better employee you have, the better human being you have, the better corporate citizen you have, the better they treat others, the better they treat customers, the better they treat their families. And so I think it's all interconnected. I think every single company should have a policy of how do I raise, the employees' morale? How do I raise their trust? How do I raise their confidence and certainty? There's a saying that goes, the high tide raises all the boats. And so when employees feel that you really care about them and you want to bring out the best in them, they will often, do more than anybody else will. And so when they feel you care about their well-being more than you care about making more money, your first and foremost priority, in my opinion, are your employees. And if you make that your first and foremost priority in your company, then they will make your customers the priority. And when your customers feel that from your employees, guess what that does? That actually brings more customers. And as you bring on more customers, it gives your employees a chance to grow even more, and more opportunities arise. And so it's a self-fulfilling cycle of happiness and of bringing the best out of people that I think every company needs to do.
You made a mistake.
One story I always remember, one person, she always come to me and complain about somebody. I don't like that person, she doesn't work, and I have to do all her work, and because she thinks she's a mean and bad person, and we cannot talk to her, and she's always against to me. Then she came to me and complained about it, and because she's a regular meditation practitioner. Then I said, what is the difference, you and in her? Because now you are coming to a meditation center and practicing meditation, now you are still complaining about those situations. Then I said, okay, I will give you some suggestion. Tomorrow, you have to go and smile to people, and smile to that lady, and send her loving kindness, even she's mean or difficult, and just do your work. And when you experience something negative from her, don't take that negative experience as yours. And stay focused, and stay mindful, and stay positive. Then she will experience there's no threat. Because otherwise, she is negative, you are negative, then all the two negative things are always fighting. So if somebody is negative, you are always positive and smiling, and then things will change. So I said, do it like almost 1 week. No need to talk to her, no need to explain to her, but she did very well. Now what happened, her birthday came. So all other co-workers, they forget about my friend's birthday. But other mean lady, she called the mean lady, she is the only one took a cake and said surprise. Because she said, I always learn something good from you. Even I'm mean. Because you are so wonderful, so peaceful, smiling to me, and you didn't do anything bad on me, and you handle yourself very well. This is my gratefulness for you. That is the story.
When I fall from grace, I go all the way. When I fall from grace, I do it all.
I know for myself that I live my life based on my intuitive thoughts and hits. All my life, I've just been in tune with the little voices inside of me that keep gnawing at me. And I've followed their guidance, and it's led me to finishing over 50 triathlons. It's led me to writing all the books that I've written. It's led me to really living a life of true fulfillment because I'm being myself. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I ran the family business for 12 years. And I learned a lot from it. However, I knew in the back of my mind that that was not what I was supposed to do for the rest of my life. And it finally got to the point where I wasn't growing there anymore. I was not fulfilled, and I knew I needed to make a change. And so I talked to my father about it, and he was understanding, and we sold the business. And at the very tail end of that, I wrote my first book. I was struggling with balance myself, and I'm a pretty driven person, and I wanted to do something about that. I came up with a handful of things that I knew that kept me in balance, and I honored those while I was going through that tough time in my life, and it really helped me a lot. So much so that I knew that I was supposed to expand that list. And that became my first book, and that just opened the floodgates and pushed me, steered me, guided me in the direction that I'm on, the path that I'm on now. And it's just been wonderful. I'm so glad that I honored my intuition at that point in my life.
My field of expertise now is rejection because of what I experienced myself, and also because of what I'm trying to accomplish. It's really to overcome the fear of rejection. And then I started out feeling rejection is something, this monster, this thing that's this so scary, so personal, so hurtful. But now I see it as something that's actually a friend, a tool. Every rejection I get is an opportunity for me to improve myself. And I want to get to the bottom of every rejection. I want to understand why, I want to understand how I can improve to get to a yes. Is that the person I talk to? Maybe I talk to another person. Is that because of if the answer of rejection is something that's very valid for me, I can make it better, I can improve myself, and I'll do it. So rejection is a tool for for me to improve and also to collaborate with people. I shared the story of how Steven Spielberg got turned down 3 times by by Daniel Day-Lewis. He did not take that as a failure. He took that as a collaboration tool. Eventually, he got Daniel Day-Lewis, and he made the script so much better that he's probably gonna win another Oscar. Just one of his 20 Oscars out there. So yeah, so I'm very grateful for for rejection.
So rejection is something that I talk a lot about and write a lot about for the purpose of helping other authors through it, because I find that people have a very false idea of it. They equate rejection to failure. But how can it be when almost every successful book was rejected at one time? I mean, if everything has to be rejected before going on to be successful, then how do we equate that to failure? But we do. It feels like failure. So when I was new as a writer, in 1991, I started writing full-time. And I was writing about a book a year, but I didn't get one picked up until 96, and I didn't actually have a published book until 1997. So in the meantime, I was writing short fiction and trying to get it published myself in literary and small circulation magazines, because you can do that without an agent. It's not easy, but you can do it without an agent. There's still a lot of rejection involved. I mean, most of these magazines, they reject about 97 to 99 out of 100 submissions they receive. So over the next, 2 years or so, I got about 122 short story rejections, and I hadn't been accepted yet. So that feels like a failure, definitely. Fortunately, I had some mentorship. I had some other authors in the Cavalier Writers Workshop who told me, hey, this is just the way it is. It's just what it means to be an author. All authors get rejected. So that's why I sort of try to pass that on to people who are newer. But so I had maybe like 15 to 20 short stories that had been rejected an average of 17, 18 times a piece. But then what happened was, without further revision, they all found homes in literary magazines. So they didn't change. They just hit the right editor on the right day. So over time, I started thinking, well, so it got rejected. What doesn't? And then I would just wait until it found its home. And it was almost like life proved to me that something can fail over here and succeed over here. It can fail on this day and it can succeed on this day. So I stopped putting that judgment on my work, like, is it good or is it bad? I think it's good, but what if this person points out to me that it's bad? And instead I started thinking, well, what's the market for this kind of work? You know, who would like to read this? What kind of an audience would like to read this? That was a big breakthrough. That just really helped me. If either not think of it as failure at all, or just think of it as very temporary failure.
My friend, you ain't alone.
People need to chill out. Being stressed about a situation is never going to be productive. You need to be focused and alert. That, if you're thinking of that as stress, that's fine. But if you're thinking of stress the way most people think of stress is, oh my God, what happens if I don't get this account? What happens if this deal doesn't go through? My life is over. Well, more likely than not, the deal won't go through and your life won't be over, but you'll have some bumps. The reality is, even when something goes wrong, there could be a higher purpose behind that going wrong. There could be a better deal around the corner. Or it could be that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing at all, and you should fail and fail quickly so you can move on and find out what you're really supposed to be doing. Because each one of us has a purpose and a reason. And my purpose and reason is writing and helping others to be creative. I'm not sure, you know, each one of us has a different purpose. Someone could be an engineer. Someone could be in the service industry. And, you know, the purpose can be being a great mother. I mean, it doesn't have to just be in business. But whatever that purpose is, if you connect with it, you're going to be joyful and you're going to be successful. And that's really what's important. And the energy that you send out is going to, like a pebble in a pond, reach far beyond your actual awareness. And that's what's really cool about being on the planet at this time, because we're going through this tremendous transition, and each and every one of us has a greater impact on the whole than we ever did before as individuals.
We recommend going to every single employee, not just having like a senior offsite meeting and coming up with them and saying, hey, these are our values, live them. We actually ask every single employee to submit their personal core values and go through a process. Zappos took a year, we as Delivering Happiness took a year as well, to get it to that point of just, not just distilling it to the top, we have 10, but actually wording it in a way that's very unique to us, you know, unique to our cultures. Like one of our values is like be like MacGyver and Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee likes fluid like water, and MacGyver is being resourceful and doing more with less. So that's just, you know, that's just us kind of thing. So that's one way we would approach this. And if, like, on the other side, if you have values already, we say, okay, are you really living by them? Are you hiring, firing by them? Are you evaluating by them? And so we go kind of lead them through that process of how do you actually live, you know, by those values.
I had a huge breakthrough about 12, 15 years ago now. I was your typical motivational, happy guy speaker, and I realized that I gotten to the point that I hated every single word that came out of my mouth. I didn't like my family anymore, didn't like my manager, didn't like my business, hated my speech, hated the audiences that were hiring me. I hated everything. And I came to realize afterwards that it was really because I wasn't happy with me. I was inauthentic. I was giving the audience a speech for them. I would say, what do you want me to talk about? And I'd show up and talk about it. And it just was driving me crazy. So I went away and went on, I guess, a spiritual journey. And left Oklahoma, got in the car and told my wife, you may see me again, you may not. Told my manager, I don't know what we're gonna do, it may end here, but I'll let y'all know one of these days when I figure it out. And I drove to Arizona and parked myself in a hotel and got a bottle of scotch and a box of cigars and sat and watched the sun come up and watched the sun go down, and that was about it. And during that time, I watched a television show where Dennis Miller was being interviewed. And they were talking to him about his career, and he said most comedians go on stage to endear themselves to the audience. The audience will like them. He said, I realized I'm not a very endearing person, so I gave it up. And when the instant I heard him say, I'm not a very endearing person, so I gave it up, it just like a light went on in my life. And I said, Well, I'm not an endearing person either. I'm going to give that up too. And that quick, I knew I was going to be okay. So I called my wife and said, we're going to be fine. I called my manager and I said, the business will change. I don't know how it's going to change, but I'm going to be myself from now on. And if they like it, fine. If they don't, I'll walk away. And the next time I went on stage, a guy heckled me. And I wasn't used to being heckled. I was sort of a happy, motivational, humorous kind of guy that did after dinner speeches and luncheon speeches. And a guy heckled me and I turned on him and I said, buddy, you need to shut up, stop whining, and get a life. And the audience leapt to their feet in a standing ovation. And I said, well, that's a pretty good line right there. I think I'll keep that there. And then the next time I went on stage, I told that story about how I'd said that to the guy, and the audience responded the same way, and people just loved the shut up, stop whining, get a life. And I realized that my real message was kind of to cut through all the crap that most people say about you got to have a great attitude and you got to do all that kind of stuff and get to the truth of matters. Life's your own fault. And that was my authentic self coming out. And so when I did that, that's when my career really went crazy, because I was finally authentic. I've discovered people don't really care about what you have to say. They don't even listen to what you have to say, and they won't believe what you have to say. But they always care enough and will listen to see if you believe what you have to say. They're looking for authenticity even when they disagree with it. And finally, I'd gotten to the point that I was saying what was important to me, whether they liked it or not. And they respected that and responded very well. I created a whole career out of being that one guy who will just tell you the truth, even though it just may be my truth.
Every human being, we all want the same thing. Every single one of us wants love.
When you're working with intuition, it takes a little time to develop what I call discernment, which is to know if is this a voice of fear, or is this a voice of greed, or is this a voice of intuition, a higher, intelligence coming through. And basically, in the beginning, when I teach people how to do this, which I do in my workshops, it's like, notice when you get this answer, does it feel like you're expanding or does it feel like you're contracting? Anything that causes you to contract is not for you. It's not the truth. Anything that causes you to feel relief, or that feels right, or I feel expansive, I breathe deeper, my chest opens up, that's going to be right on. And over time, each of us has a language of intuition. For me, I get goosebumps on my body. Like when we got the title for Chicken Soup for the Soul, my whole body got goosebumps. And I called my wife, she got goosebumps. I told my partner, Mark, he got goosebumps. Told my editor, he got goosebumps. Unfortunately, we went to New York and had about 21 meetings where no one got goosebumps. But eventually we did sell the book after that. But the point is, for me, if I get this wave of goosebumps, then I know I'm right on. For someone else, it's the hair on the back of their neck stands up. For someone else, it's that gut feeling they have in their body. But the idea is that you each have our language, and you learn it by experience. So, well, I thought that was right, and I felt that, but it wasn't right. It didn't turn out well at all. So maybe I need to recalibrate and find out, well, when did it turn out right? And so over time, that's why most wise people have gray hair. You really learn how to make that distinction. One of my friends wrote a book on, it's called, I forget the exact title, was we all have an inner GPS, an internal guidance system, and that guidance system is joy and its expansiveness, both of breathing and opening up, feeling of lengthening in your body. So learn to, each person has to learn their own inner language, but once you've learned it, then you have to trust it. And that's been the key to, like, I can't tell you how many successes in my life, whether it was the title for our book, which has gone on to make a lot of impact in the world, or whether it was starting the Transformational Leadership Council. I thought about bringing all these people together who do this work, just goosebumps. I said, oh, guess we're supposed to do that. It's turned out to be one of the best things I've ever done.
Here's a recap of some key themes we've gone over so far in this film in order to make your business sparkly and new. I'll take the deluxe wash and polish. Thank you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
When I was very young, I saw my first inspirational speaker, a man named Zig Ziglar, and I knew that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was 13 years old, and I said, that's what I'm supposed to do. So I was clear on my intention. Intention, attention, no tension. My intention was very clear. I put my attention on it. I focused a lot on how to become a speaker. I went to graduate school, got an MBA in training and development, and taught training courses in big Fortune 500 companies, and put a lot of my thoughts, my words, my feelings, and my actions, meaning my attention, on becoming a worldwide speaker. But I wasn't very good at that last step of no tension, that letting go step that so many people have troubles with. And one day, a dear friend of mine came to me and said, you know, Marcy, you're stressed out, and you're not really getting anywhere. You're kind of hitting your head against the wall, and you're kind of stuck. She said, I want to take you away with me for a 7-day silent meditation retreat. And I looked at her and I said, you're crazy. Silence for 7 days? I haven't been silent for more than 2 hours in my life. But she was very persuasive, and I went along with her on this 7-day silent meditation retreat. And on the 4th day, in the middle of a meditation, a light bulb went off in my head, and I saw the words, chicken soup for the woman's soul. Now, Jack Canfield, who's the originator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, had been my mentor. And I had been working with him over the last number of years, and I knew that nobody had thought of these specialty chicken soup books. And as soon as that came to me, I knew immediately that that's what I was supposed to do. There was only one problem. I still had 3 more days of silence. I had just had the great epiphany of my life, and I couldn't tell anybody. But as soon as the silence was over, I ran to the closest payphone and called up Jack, and I said, I've got it, Jack. Chicken soup for the woman's soul. And he said, oh my God, I can't believe nobody's thought of it. He called the publisher, who said, I can't believe nobody's thought of it. And a few months later, I had a contract, and a year and a half later, my first book came out, Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul, and went to #1 that week on the New York Times bestseller list. And I am absolutely certain that that only happened because of all 3 of those steps. I was clear on my intention. I wanted to be able to inspire people around the world. I had put a lot of attention on it and prepared myself. And finally, that 3rd step of no tension, I had let go. I had gone into a state of relaxation and surrender, and that was when the great idea came. So real success, the law of attraction, happens when we do all 3 of those steps, when we get clear on what we want to do, when we put our attention on that and we take action, and finally when we relax and let go.
Finding people to work with, again, whether you're starting a business, whether it's something very small, or even I work with a lot of big corporations, you know, finding the right people for the team, finding the right people to bring into the company from the outside, or who do I really want to work with? It can be tricky because you're looking for skill sets, first and foremost, right? Okay, I got to find someone who can do this and who can do that. However, I think we get sort of obsessed too much with skill set and experience and resume and what does this person do, and it's more important to focus on values, and it's more important to focus on sort of personal alignment. Now, it's not to say, look, I think teams can be very, very productive when personalities are very different and maybe we have some conflict and you do it very differently than I do it, but we got to make sure that at some level there's some core values that we all operate with. And some of that has to do with being in an authentic inquiry about what are our core values and really talking to people about that. And being willing, even someone who shows up who's got a lot of skill and can bring a lot to the table, but you realize, you know what, we're not aligned philosophically, we're not aligned on that value level, it's going to be very difficult to work together. I have found in my own business, now I run my own business, it's me, I have a number of people that work with me and support, but it's pretty much just me. But over the years, I've had challenges with different people that I've brought on board just to do projects for me or take care of things. And I've now found that while I'm absolutely interested in people's technical skills and ability, I mean, they've got to have some ability to do what I'm asking them to do, but if we don't get along, they don't get me, I don't get them at some human personal level, I don't want to work with them. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person. More power to them, go off and have a wonderful life, but just we're not going to play together because it's not going to work out well. So I really think we have to be adamant about that and do it with some compassion, but also the clearer we are about ourselves and what we want and how we operate, the easier it is for us to attract people to us that are more in alignment.
If we want to make the workplace a better place, we have to raise the gender intelligence. One of the big challenges is for men and women to appreciate those differences. And if the workplace doesn't bring in the feminine qualities, it will fall behind. It's happening. More and more women are taking responsible positions in the workplace. More and more men are learning how to cooperate with women. That is the future. That's what's going to be successful in the world. What can facilitate that and happening is the awareness that it needs to happen. We need to recognize that getting together, having men and women talking about these issues, having workshops, having classes, having education, not just a professor standing up in front of the audience talking. I can go into companies and I do it. I give a talk, everybody laughs, everybody has a good time, they go back to things are almost the same. What creates real change is when they have 3-hour workshops or some kind of setting where people are sitting around a table, they watch a film of something that happens and they discuss it. They just simply discuss these things. Nobody's being attacked, nobody's being blamed, but literally it's the process of men hearing women's thinking. Because so much of the time, women do not share what they're thinking because men do not understand it. And men do not share what they're thinking. In our survey, we found that almost over 90% of men feel like they have to walk on eggshells around women. They can't say what they think. They might upset her, they might bother her, it might be politically incorrect and whatever. Let's have open dialogue. You know, the whole movement in the past as women went into the workplace is about we have to stand together, women, we have to push, we have to get there, we have to get our rights, we need equality and so forth. And that was good, it woke men up. But that's not the answer. What we have to do is have dialogue, we have to have conversation, we have to hear their point of view, they have to hear our point of view. And together, what increases is understanding. Understanding brings us together. Any married couple has had arguments where they resolved in that greater understanding, and then they feel closer. That's the secret of communication. You have differences, more understanding, the tension goes away, cooperation increases, and efficiency increases as well.
In the beginning, there was a bad vibe. Mankind was spoken as a diatribe. It gets worse. It's like a curse, like a percentage of the national purse.
I think that for most people, number one, they don't set goals out of fear. They fear of failure. Even when they do set goals, I think a lot of people don't have a system or a formula in place so that when they hit a challenge, which everyone does, they don't know how to handle it. The wheels fall off, then it's hands on heads, and they're like, well, I can't do this. Most of the time, if it's not even if they have the formula, they're following the steps, they're applying the principles, and they're doing everything right, but something keeps sabotaging them from moving forward, normally it's past programming. Something that's subconsciously, so deep in their subconscious mind, that some program we picked up when we were kids, that, you know, tells them that they're not worthy, or they'll never be able to do it. And we have this negative chatter, this CD on repeat in our mind, and every time we try and achieve a goal, whether it's through wealth or health or attracting a perfect partner or whatever it is, there's this negative chatter that comes up all the time, and because it's been there for such a long period of time and it's such a normal part of our inner chatter, we don't even realize that it's there, at all. So and so most of the time people will be, they'll take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, then 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and we don't actually realize it's that internal programming that natter inside our subconscious mind that's actually stopping us from being successful.
There might be a certain person that always irritates you, but you just got a new puppy dog that morning and you're in this super happy place, or you know, something great has happened and you might run into that person that normally annoys you, and for some reason they're just not bugging you today. I don't know why. It's not because that person is an annoying person. It's because of your perspective and your expectation that you hold when you're around that person, right? So if you are consciously or unconsciously entering a different mind space or a different attitude, things that have traditionally occurred to you as negative or as, you know, like for example, driving. A lot of people when they're driving, they just get into a space of just being annoyed with traffic, annoyed with the guy in front of me, annoyed with, you know, people switching lanes, cutting me off, that sort of thing. But if you're in a state where something great has happened, or you're having a particularly great day, or you're headed to meet somebody that you've been waiting to meet, the traffic thing's not so important. You kind of get there and you're like, wow, I wasn't even annoyed at all anymore. So it's not about the outside circumstances. It's about how you're perceiving stuff. So I think that even more important than creating what you want in your life is to get into an attitude of just having something that's more important than the circumstances that are going on around you, the connection that you have being more important than any of that, because those circumstances will stop bothering you, will just cease to bother you, and after they cease to bother you, you're not going to attract them into your life anymore.
Traveling on plastic and chrome, burning all the dinosaur bones.
I don't see there's a perfect world. So because all human beings are imperfect. So when the human beings are imperfect, we cannot have any expectation to see the world perfect. So once Buddha said, if somebody trying to make this world better and peaceful 100%, he will be a failure. That's what Buddha said. So if you want to find the perfect world, we can do it one by one. We cannot focus on the whole world. Perfect world for me, perfect self, trying to perfect self. So then if I am trying to perfect myself, getting better every day, then I can help you, then I can help other person. So that is the way we can, little by little, we can make this world better and peaceful, but not 100%. No. If somebody trying it, a lot of problems.
To me, living a spiritual life means connecting to my higher self. We have a higher true self, we have a, let's call it lower ego self. And when we are connected to our higher self, then I believe at the same time, and that could just be connected to our heart. When we are connected to that part of us, the highest part of us, I believe at that point in time, we are also connected to any type of a higher conscious in the universe. And you don't have to make that happen. That is an automatic thing. For me, what I try to do is, or what I do is I have a yoga practice, I have a meditation practice. I don't do it every single day. I attempt to do it every day, but things get in the way like normal. And then I practice non-judgment and self-acceptance and things like that. So the simplest practices and probably the most prevalent one as far as the spiritual practice is concerned is also the hardest one. And that is simply to be present. Being present, to me, is the answer to connecting with spirituality. It's also the hardest thing in the world to do. Just go in the shower and see how easy that is to keep your mind on the shower. It's almost impossible. But if you can do that, you've conquered the world.
Now again, for me, everything is spiritual. And that includes money, that includes commerce, that includes the workplace. At the same time, as soon as I make anything else, anything outside of me, more important than what's inside of me, I'm on the wrong track. And unfortunately, money is one of the biggest areas in which we see that, is that the pursuit of money becomes so important to some people who have accepted these ideas about that they're not enough and that they need all of these additional things to complete themselves, or that that there's not enough money to go around. And so it's that pursuit of money that causes all the suffering. that we experience around money. So money is a useful tool to exchange energy, nothing more. It's paper with green ink on it. Yet, we have such an emotional attachment to that piece of paper. It's really quite remarkable. The second way that money exists in our society today is in ones and zeros on a computer screen. Now, we can look at computer screens all day and we can find wonderful, happy experiences, sad experiences, but something happens when we look at our screens and we see ones and zeros in a bank account. You know, that can elicit fear, that can elicit dread, that can elicit a false sense of security. Money is a tool. Are you using the tool, or is the tool using you?
So this heart isn't celebrated. I can polish it so it can look just like gold. If the message is understated, okay.
If companies start to make a more loving approach their bottom line, as opposed to a profit their bottom line, people are going to feel honored, valued, people are going to feel worthy, people are going to have higher self-esteem. And that's no small thing. Often we put all this emphasis on how are we going to get more, be more, do more, when just to live a happy life is what we're so much after. So if all of a sudden companies are creating that for its employees, job done. If all of a sudden corporations are spreading their products into the world with the incentive of you matter, you're important, you're valued, no small thing.
You're an elusive butterfly, and I like to watch you fly.
I don't think you get big places when you want to put one foot into your goal and keep the other one somewhere safe. When I quit my day job, it was with no illusions. I wasn't one of those people who said, I'm going to quit my day job and go write a best-selling novel and be very famous. I was like so realistic. I thought, you know what? I'm going to starve and I don't even care. But there's something about that moment where you're both feet in. That's when stuff starts to happen. So I think it almost reminds me of that thing about with the trapeze. You know, you want to grab the next trapeze, but you don't want to let go of the one you're holding on, because then you're just like out there in the air. But you got to let go of that, you know. I mean, you've seen what happens to people when they're holding on to both. I mean, if you want to get anywhere, you got to let go of one of those, you know. So I think there's some emotional courage involved. And I just think that there's a kind of there's a playing it safe that people like to do. I don't know if it makes them feel safe, but I don't think it helps them.
I think having a spiritual department in a company is a brilliant idea. I wish I would have thought of that, actually. In our company, we highly encourage all of our employees to take 5, 10, 15 minutes a day to either pray, meditate, visualize, tap into the source. And what we do know from spiritual practices is that it reduces stress. When somebody has got less stress, they're healthier, they show up to work happier, they're more productive, and there's a definite benefit that a company can see by keeping people under lower amounts of stress. And I love the idea of having a spiritual department in every business. In one of my former companies, we had a meditation room with 2 massage chairs there, with candles and with chimes and with music and with different spiritual tools that people could use to be able to really connect to their source and take time to practice their spiritual practices of choice. And so I think it would be a great revolution for companies to have a spiritual director.
I think that our individual happiness has an impact on everyone around us. Absolutely. You know, I remember years ago, a mentor of mine said to me, Mike, you know, one of the most selfish things you can do? And I said, what? He said, that's be miserable. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, being miserable is incredibly selfish. I was like, why is that? He said, because when you're miserable, everyone around you who cares about you worries about you. And they're concerned, what's wrong with Mike? What are we going to do? How do we, I mean, all that. So you being happy, now he said authentically happy, actually is liberating and empowering for everyone around you because you model it. And you also allow them not to have to worry about you. Oh, he's good, right? So I mean, you think about that as a metaphor for in a company, let's say, you start happy people. A happy individual then can create the boss, I don't have to worry about that person as much. Oh, they're happy. That now it has ripple effects. And I look at life always as it's concentric circles. There's me in the center of my life. There's you in the center of your life. There's everyone in the center of their own life. And then around that, then the key people, our closest relationships, our family, our closest friends. Then it becomes sort of that next tier, some coworkers and people, and right? And then the next tier and all the way around, and it gets to our, you know, community, and it gets to the world that we live in. And so absolutely, I think our individual experience has an impact on the world.
We do affect our world. And rather than railing against institutions, we should focus our intentions and our actions on creating what we do want the world to look like, not what we don't. There are creators and there are destroyers in this world. There are those that build sandcastles and those that can't wait to kick them down. Be a creator. Focus on realizing your vision and let the parasitic institutions crumble under their own weight. I recommend spending your life creating your dream job rather than trusting current companies to bend to your will. I suggest passionately working to make that happen rather than railing against strongholds and institutions. I have done both, and I could definitely tell you which one feels better. I'll take creating over destroying any day. Everyone has free will. So rather than convince others to conform to your ideals and relinquish their free will, simply use your own individual sovereignty to spark a revolutionary idea that will become a paradigm shift in your industry. Create your own position, that is the new economy, and trust your intuition completely. My friends and I set out to do two main things: hear the wisdom of wise people and encourage the entrepreneurs of the world to act now and stop waiting for a reason to start. We need you. Consider this the sign that you have been looking for. Start that business. Create that product. Patent that idea and offer that new service. Create the culture in your company that you wish was around when you were first starting out. Some might say that just decorating a room in a more colorful manner is only gilding the bars of the prison cell. They might have a point there. There are intrinsic problems with corporate America, but doing something, anything to make people feel more human, more natural, more organic, more comfortable is a step in the right direction. There is no perfect. There's no perfect world and there are no perfect people. There's only better. So make it better. Whether you take all this advice and run with it, or whether you decide to do one thing to improve the culture, it is better than it was. When you're heading in the right direction, your mood improves. You emit a higher vibrational frequency, and in turn, you unknowingly improve the lives of those around you. So just take one step and let momentum propel you forward. The butterfly effect is a real phenomenon. Sometimes one little flap of the wings creates a causal effect that changes the course of history. The last formula is in you. It's up to you to balance that equation. There might be commonalities from person to person, but you are the unique chemical reaction. You are the mathematical solution. You are the last formula.
When I was 8, I wanted to be 9. That's all I wanted, so.
My friend, you ain't alone. You're right here with me. Forget about time and space. We're on the same frequency. I wrote this song so that you can sing it along. Suddenly, I can see through all the lies. Talk to me. Suddenly, I'm awake. Now there's hell to pay and ground to it don't seem fair. Like you really don't belong here. I know just how you're feeling. Your very soul is deep, and I wrote this song so that you can sing along, sing along. Suddenly, I can see through all the lies taught to me. Suddenly, I'm awake. Now there's hell the pain ground to break. So you found the real you, and no one can see the truth. You're digging through the dirt, through all this pain, all this hurt. You and I will walk this road. Fear has no power here. No more confusion. Our purpose is clear. I wrote this song so that you can sing it on. Sing it. Suddenly, I can see through all the lies taught to me. Suddenly, I'm awake. Now there's hell to pay ground.